Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. I am William. Thank you for joining me here. Today we're going to explore the essential practice of data protection auditing, a critical process that helps organizations assess their compliance with data protection laws and build trust with customers and stakeholders. Before I start, please feel free to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification button so that you will receive our latest podcast video seamlessly. Let me start with a question. How confident are you that your organization could prove its compliance with data protection regulations right now, under scrutiny? Data protection authorities across Asia now receive over thousands of breach notifications per day, a 50% increase over the previous year. These numbers tell us one thing clearly. Regulators are serious, and organizations that cannot demonstrate compliance face significant financial and reputational risks. But a data protection audit is not just about avoiding fines. It's about protecting personal data, building customer trust, and ensuring your organization handles information responsibly. This conversation will walk you through what a data protection audit is, why it matters, and how to conduct one effectively. Let's begin. A data protection audit is a comprehensive review process undertaken by an organization to assess its handling of personal information. It involves scrutinizing the data collected, the means of processing that data, and the security measures in place to protect it. Essentially, an audit answers three fundamental questions. First, does the organization know what it processes? Why, for how long, with whom, and where? Second, are the protective measures selected in line with the risk, and are they effective? Technical and organizational measures, or must be not just on paper, but actually implemented and verifiable. Third, are the rights of data subjects and obligations operationalized? This includes processes for information requests, deletion, incident management, and consent withdrawal. Audits can be conducted internally or by appointing external specialists. The choice depends on your organization's complexity, resources, and the level of independent assurance required. The primary purpose of an audit is to assess whether an organization has effective policies and procedures in place for managing personal data and whether these practices are being correctly implemented. There are several compelling reasons to conduct regular audits on data protection. First, regulatory compliance. Under regulations, businesses that control or process data must continuously demonstrate compliance. Non-compliance could lead to severe fine from the regulators. Second, risk mitigation. Understanding your data flows, the types of data you collect, and whether adequate security measures are in place helps mitigate the potential impact of a data breach. Third, competitive advantage. For the firms that process or host customer data, audit outcomes can determine eligibility for major contracts. Simply claiming to follow best practices is no longer enough. Organizations must prove it through documented evaluations and evidence. Fourth, proactive rather than reactive. Conducting voluntary audits can prevent compulsory audits by regulators. It demonstrates commitment to meeting obligations and proactively addressing potential breaches. As one expert put it, use your audit as a strategic tool. A successful audit begins long before any data is examined. Proper preparation is crucial. Let's go through the key planning steps. First, it's essential to secure board-level support. The board must understand both the benefits and challenges of compliance to effectively allocate resources. They need to be educated on data protection risks and the advantages of compliance. Start by identifying the scope of the audit. Clarify which aspects of data protection you will evaluate, from data collection to data storage and processing activities. Determine whether this will be a full compliance audit across all areas or a targeted audit focusing on specific areas, for example, processor management only or security controls only. Your objectives might include ensuring compliance, verifying that consent mechanisms meet regulatory requirements, or evaluating data breach response protocols. Define your audit criteria by mapping control points to the specific regulatory articles being assessed. Documentation is the backbone of any audit. Compile all necessary documents in advance: privacy policies, data processing agreements, security measures, previous audit reports, records of processing activities, ROPA, consent logs, data breach records, and data protection impact assessments, DPIAs. A well-organized collection of documents saves time and gives auditors a clear picture of your privacy program's current state. This is arguably the most critical phase of any data protection audit. As one expert warns, attempting a risk assessment without a comprehensive data map is like trying to secure a building without blueprints. Understanding the nature of the data your organization collects is vital for recognizing risks in handling, storage, and transfer. Start by cataloging the various types of data you manage: information related to customers, employees, suppliers, and any other data subjects. Key questions to ask include: what types of personal data do you hold? List categories like employee data, customer data, marketing databases, CCTV footage. Segment this data by type: names, addresses, purchasing history, browsing history, images. Determine if they hold just personal data or whether some falls under sensitive personal information categories. Map data flows. Data mapping involves tracking the life cycle of each data set within your business operations. This mapping should track the data's path through every physical and virtual location it inhabits. A clear data map should cover data sources, entry points such as website forms or customer support systems. Data flows: how data moves between departments, systems, and third-party service providers. Data storage: location of data, on-premises, cloud-based, or outsourced. Data disposal: how data is deleted or archived to comply with laws. After completing data mapping, share the inventory with relevant departments and stakeholders to ensure all data types and locations are accurately identified. For each data set, document why you hold it and the lawful basis for processing, whether consent, contract, legal obligation, or another ground. You should also document how you collected the data, where you store it, who has access, how long you keep it, and your retention justification. Once you understand what data you have and where it flows, the next step is assessing whether your practices comply with legal requirements. Review your privacy policies and verify they align with data privacy regulation and reflect current practices in data collection, processing, and storage. Key areas to check include data collection practices, data processing and analysis, retention policies, processes for enabling data subject rights, and security measures like encryption and access controls. Review security policies and procedures. Assess both physical and technical security controls. Consider access controls, data retention practices, and supplier oversight. Third-party relationships remain a key source of data protection risk for many organizations. Identify discrepancies between current practices and legal or regulatory requirements. This gap analysis should highlight areas where your organization falls short of compliance requirements. Conduct a risk assessment to identify potential threats to your data. A Data Protection Impact Assessment, or DPIA, is a structured process used to evaluate and manage risks associated with handling personal data. Its purpose is to help organizations systematically identify and minimize or nullify potential risks that could hamper data processing. Review your third-party relationships to verify that the data processors provide sufficient guarantees for data protection. Initial due diligence at onboarding is often not enough. Supplier oversight is an ongoing responsibility. Auditors are looking for reliable answers, and those answers require reliable evidence. Good evidence answers at least 6 questions: who reported, who reviewed, who approved, who modified, and who reevaluated the processing. Each measure should not end with implemented, but with demonstrably implemented, screenshots, logs, test reports. Evidence mapping is an effective approach. Each inspection request is given clear evidence in advance, creating a single source of truth. Valid evidence forms the foundation for authoritative audit reports and subsequent remediation plans. The audit report should document findings, including both compliance and areas of non-compliance. The report should identify non-compliance and provide a roadmap for addressing gaps. Create an action plan. Based on your findings, develop a remediation plan. List actions needed to ensure compliance efforts. For example, deleting data that has exceeded retention periods or data collected unlawfully. Documenting the audit helps compile evidence and records on compliance efforts and may be useful in meeting accountability requirements under regulations. How often should you audit? While data protection audit isn't a strict legal obligation, best practice suggests completing one annually. For some businesses, this may need to be more frequent. Conducting regular audits helps prove your compliance, which is crucial should you be subject to inspection by supervisory authorities. A structured annual review allows the organization to anticipate regulatory risks, ensure documentation remains current, and confirm that day-to-day practices still align with regulations. Run audits at least annually and after any major change to your infrastructure. Also, audit after major infrastructure changes, vendor onboarding, or a breach. Transparency is essential. Design corrective measures that balance privacy risks with business development. Periodic audits of data processing activities ensure internal proceedings follow best practices. Treat audits as strategic tools, not just compliance checkboxes. Conduct regular training for all relevant personnel to stay updated on data protection regulations and internal policies. Let's briefly address some common pitfalls. Fragmented data architecture. Research shows that 61% of organizations now have fragmented audit logs across disconnected systems. Without unified audit trails or centralized control points, proving data residency becomes a time-consuming, error-prone exercise. Lack of data visibility. Many organizations lack data visibility and AI safeguards, raising compliance and governance risks. AI adoption and third-party data sharing increase compliance and governance risks, treating audit as a one-time event. Compliance is not about ticking boxes. Organizations that treat audits as one-time events rather than ongoing processes often find themselves unprepared when regulators come calling. Ignoring third parties. Third-party and supplier relationships remain a key source of data protection risk. Initial due diligence is often completed at onboarding, but not maintained. Confusing security with privacy. Security and privacy are related but distinct. Security is about protecting data from unauthorized access. Privacy is about ensuring data is collected and used appropriately. Failing to act on findings. The most common and costly pitfall, failing to act on audit findings. An audit that doesn't lead to improvement is merely an exercise in documentation. To conclude, a data protection audit is not just a regulatory requirement. It's a strategic opportunity to strengthen your organization's data governance, build trust with customers, and reduce risk. The regulatory landscape is becoming more demanding. Data protection authorities are receiving hundreds of breach notifications daily. Organizations that conduct regular, thorough audits and act on their findings will be better positioned to navigate this environment and to protect the personal data entrusted to them. That's to the end of my sharing today. If you found this podcast video is useful, please share this out with your friends and colleagues. Thank you and have a great day ahead.